Hello everybody and welcome back to Build and Battle MTG. If you are new, my name is Austin and today I am joined by Colton and we are going to be going over top 10 picks for Commander, like Commander cards from Crimson Vow, like in the 99 of your deck. But before we get into it, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Build and Battle MTG just hit 362 subscribers and it really helped the channel out a lot. Okay, let's go. Okay, so the first card we are going to be covering today is Ava Bruck Caretaker. So for 6, you get a 4/4 human werewolf with hexproof, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, and it has daybound. So just on the daybound side, for 6, a 4/4 hexproof, it does protect itself, so that's nice. Werewolf is a relevant creature type, so that's cool. But what we're really looking at here is putting 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control at the beginning of combat. So let's see what it flips into. Okay, so a 6/6 hexproof. Other creatures you control have hexproof. That already is great. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Okay, so
we didn't finish reading the card.
Yeah, each creature you control is really, this card's like really good in my opinion. You got to get it to flip over is what I think makes it really good. But for 6, a 6/6 hexproof that gives all your other creatures hexproof is just already really good. But that last ability that gives all your creatures 2 +1/+1 counters at the beginning of combat on your turn is just insane. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be that hard to get to flip because Tollivar.
Oh yeah.
This is an auto include in every Tollivar deck, and that automatically on your upkeep, I think, flips your werewolves to their nightbound side. So it won't be hard, and this is just a great werewolf card to put in any werewolf deck, no matter
Yeah, there's
what
also that mythic werewolf or wolf from
Interwolf.
I don't know, it makes like tokens, so all those could get buffed. That's cool.
Oh, we're thinking
synergy.
2 different things, but
I don't know. Yeah, it's a great card in a werewolf deck. Okay, so the next card we're going to be going over is Cultivator Colossus, which is a 7-drop, so it is a bit expensive, but it's definitely worth it. So it's a plant beast star trample. When Cultivator Colossus's power and toughness is equal to the number of lands you control. And when Cultivator Colossus enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. Okay, so we all know that ramp is really great in Commander. So the only thing is you might get unlucky, with the process of drawing and putting lands down. But I think, just set your hand up a little bit to already have like 2 lands. Don't play your land for turn maybe when you play this card. And you're going to be getting like a bunch of value.
and it is excessive to do this, but if you really want to go off with this card, there's a bunch of 1-mana cantrips that just say search for a basic land, put it into your hand.
Oh yeah.
So if you do that until your hand has like 5 lands in it, drop the Colossus, you get to draw guaranteed 5 cards, ramp out 5 lands.
Well, there's also cards that are like pay X, search your library for X land cards, put them into your hand,
Yeah. And then this is just an auto included in any landfall deck. Since Zendikar Rising, there's been so many new landfall commanders, Omnath, a Boon Precon commander,
and landfall, you're gonna have enough mana to be able to set up your hand before you play this. And then also every land that you get onto the battlefield from this is just increasing the trample power of this card. So this could easily be a 10/10 trample plus.
Yeah, and I think that's just an alternate win con for your deck. That might be the way that you knock out one player. Someone swings out at one guy, forgets you have the Cultivator Colossus, and then you attack him with a 15/15 with your Omnath deck, and take
and
him
then
out.
also the ability to just get 6 landfall triggers from all your creatures that you have on the battlefield before this is really powerful. So yeah, definitely a great card.
Rampaging Balos.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be in landfall, but if you put this in landfall, it's pretty busted.
You don't have to cut.
The next card we are going to be going over is Faithbound Judge. And it does flip into something, but we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so for 1 and 2 white, you get a 4/4 Spirit Soldier with Defender, Flying, and Vigilance. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Faithbound Judge has 2 or fewer judgment counters on it, put a judgment counter on it. And as long as bound judge has 3 or more judgment counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. Okay, so 2 or fewer judgment counters, you put one on it, and if it has 3 or more, then it can attack as though it didn't have defender. Wait, what?
Well, at least personally, that doesn't really matter, because if I can just block with it and get it to go to the yard,
yeah.
like, that's, for me, if I can't attack with it, that's fine, because I have a 4/4 blocker. That's a substantial blocker against most
And it's flying
creatures.
too, so.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, if this does get defender removed, it does have vigilance, so you can still block with it. That's cool. So for 3, the body's nice, I guess. But really what we're looking at here is if you get this into your graveyard, then you disturb this for 7. So it disturbs into this enchantment called, or it's a curse called a Sinner's Judgment. Enchant player, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a judgment counter on Sinner's Judgment. Then if there are 3 or more judgment counters on it, enchanted player loses the game. And if Sinner's Judgment would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it. So you put this on a player, and they have 3 turns to get rid of it.
Or 3 turns to win the game.
Yeah, 3 turns to do something about this, or they are going to lose. So obviously, the downside to this is if you put this on someone, it is 7, so that could be a pretty, like, uncurved mana trade if they just get rid of it with like a 2-drop disenchant.
Feed the swarm, disenchant.
Yeah. Also,
return
but
to
like
nature.
they might just start attacking you and targeting you. I mean, probably not might. They will, because if not, they're going to lose in 3 turns. So if they don't have enchantment removal, they're going to turn to player removal, which will be you. But if you have the blockers in the deck, life gain deck, this might be good in, because you have all that life to just tank for you while you wait the 3 turns out. I think this card's really good.
Another way that you can quote unquote break it doesn't really break the card. You play it for 7, that's your whole turn. You get around, it gets to your upkeep, put 1 counter on it, extra turn spell. Because then you get another upkeep, so then they have 2 counters on it. And if you can somehow find another extra turn spell, 3 counters and they lose, and they only get 1 turn with it.
Or like proliferating the counters onto this would be.
This is
really
broken
good.
in it. If you have an Atraxa deck, this fits in.
You might want to try this out in your Atrax deck, because
Extra turn
3
proliferate.
turns into 1 turn.
Landfall decks, this plus Evolution Sage. Although that's 1 card that pairs with it, so you probably wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like this goes in a +1/+1 counter deck, because in those you have proliferate effects.
Yep. If you have any way to proliferate, definitely give this a try. So yeah, that's the thing. Okay, the next card on the list is Maniform Hellkite. So for 4, it's a 4/4 flying dragon, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX red dragon illusion creature token with flying and haste, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. Exile the token at the beginning of the next end step. So you're going to be running this card in a deck, like a Spell Slinger deck, for example, like Calamax.
Calamax. I think that this would be better in Zaffi Thunder Collector.
Yeah, just
the commander from the pre-con from Strixhaven. Because that wants you to run big X spells, and this is better with big X spells.
Oh yeah, definitely great with X spells. So just like without the ability, the 4-drop 4/4 flyer for 4 is not bad. Like that's still 4 damage every turn to the player who doesn't have flying blockers, so that's cool.
Which is like everyone.
Yeah, I find like a lot of times in commander games, if you have a big flyer, like that'll easily get in 20 damage throughout the game. It's crazy.
No one runs flying.
Honestly. Maybe put more flying in your deck, but also just the ability to make like 8/8 haste flyings each turn seems really powerful. So if one player doesn't have flying, this is just like removal to them basically.
Another great deck for this card is a Becca Brute Chronologist. I don't know the exact thing is. It's tap, end your turn, or you may end your turn. So if you have a bunch of big spells in that, I don't know if it works, timing rules or whatever, or Seer Sundial does the same thing, where you can end your turn with that ability on
Oh
the stack.
yeah, because you can end it like before your end step.
Yeah, so what you would do is during your end step, that ability would go on the stack. You activate your Seer Sundial, you activate Obeka, and then you end your turn, and then that ability fizzles and you keep the token. Again, I don't know if it actually works, but it might.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that does work. Comment down below, but that would be great in that deck. So for this card to like be worth it though, I'm pretty sure you'd have to be casting a spell, a non-creature spell each turn to want this in your deck.
That's why it might not be great in Obeka, because I don't think you really cast a whole bunch of big instants and sorceries. I think the best home for this would be in a Mizzix deck, where you cast big X counter spells, and then Zaphi Thunder Collector Conductor, where you cast big X counter spells and get a bunch of payoff.
Yeah, so spell slender deck, definitely give this a try.
Next up, we have Necro Duality, Necrality, however you say it. Whenever a non-token zombie enters a battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature.
Yeah, so for 4, this seems like a really powerful ability. Obviously, you have to be running zombies to want this card in your deck, but this is just going to create like a massive swarm of zombies, especially if you're dropping even like 2 zombies a turn. This is worth having in any zombie deck, I think.
This seems almost meant for the Willet Rock Cleaver
that
came out in Innistrad Midnight Hunt.
Yeah, or like the zombie precon deck. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, zombie precon from Innistrad Midnight Hunt.
This would be great in that deck. I know that deck like has token synergy in it, so definitely give this a try in there if you have that. I think that'd be a really good card, but any zombie deck, this could easily get a spot in there. But obviously you have to be running zombies, but if you are, great card. Up on the list, we have by invitation only. So for 3 and 2 white, it's a sorcery. Choose a number between 0 and 13. Each player sacrifices that many creatures. So this card can do a lot of damage to your opponents. So this would be especially good if your deck has tokens or just like a sacrifice strategy, like an aristocrat strategy, with effects like Zulaport Cutthroat and stuff like that.
Zulaport Cutthroat, Blood Artist, Cruel Celebrant, Falconwrath Noble. Though whenever this or another creature dies, it deals 1 damage to either target opponent or reach your opponent, and you gain 1 life.
Yeah, so those abilities can really stack up. Also, another cool thing you can do with this card is if you don't have like any creatures that you really care about, just choose 13, and now the battlefield's even because your opponents have like no creatures along with you. So if you're like have no creatures on your board, maybe your deck is like an enchantment deck or something like that, I don't know, you're not running as much creatures as your opponents, you might want to give this a try in your deck.
And also, if it is an enchantment deck, a 5 mana creature board wipe, think about the other board wipes that people run that destroy only creatures. Now granted, this is a max of 13, but how many times do you need to destroy more than 13 creatures?
I mean, there are times, but yeah.
I mean, like, if each opponent sacrifices 7 creatures, you get rid of 21 creatures. But Plague Wind, Ingarrick's Wake, Arandu Inversion, 9 mana board wipe, 9 mana board wipe, 8 mana, So it's definitely worth it for 5, because then you most likely have mana left over.
Yeah, well, like, the board wipe standard basically is like 4 or 5. Yeah, around 4-ish. Like, you got the Doomscar, that's 5, and that's like a land thing. But, like,
yeah, I forgot about Doomscar.
Yeah, like, I'd say the board wipe, like, the good ones are 4. So this is, like, right on par, basically.
Oh, yeah, Wrath of God, Damnation.
But it doesn't take out all the creatures. So I think you have to care about, like, sacrificing. There's cards that say, like, whenever you sacrifice, do this.
Yeah,
so Aristocrats decks.
Teysa Karlov.
Yes.
Teysa Karlov, discard a bunch of tokens, and then any drain effect pretty much is guaranteed to take out 1 player.
Yeah, so you have to care about sacrifice or just have an excessive amount of tokens to sacrifice. But if you do, definitely give this card a try. Next up, we have Alchemist Gambit. So for 3, it's a sorcery. Take an extra turn after this one. During that turn, damage can't be prevented. At the beginning of that turn's end step, you lose the game. But you can pay Cleave for 4, 2 blue, and a red. You may cast this card for its cleave cost. If you do, remove the words in brackets. So if you cast it for the 7 mana cleave cost, it would just read, take an extra turn after this one. During that turn, damage cannot be prevented. So, thoughts on this card?
I mean, it's good. It's the standard extra turn with no downside effect. 6/7, the Karn's Temporal Sundering. You have the not expropriate, but cards like that give you an extra turn. But this isn't Obeka colors. Tap, end your turn with this ability on the stack. Seer Sundial, 3 mana extra turn.
Yeah, dude, Obeka keeps coming up. This would be really powerful in her deck, and like it works, right? Like
you would think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it works. Comment down below if you guys disagree, but
I don't really know. All I know is that it works with some cards. I did see somewhere that it didn't work with some effects like that, but I don't know if this is one of the ones where it works or not. So,
but yeah, so in a Spell Slinger deck, I think this card's great. It has the versatility that you could, if you have like the right cards in your hand, maybe a combo piece or something like that, just cast it for 3, whatever, you're gonna win anyways. But if you just want to play it safe, cast it for 7 mana extra turn. An extra turn's an extra turn, man. If you spend your regular turn casting an extra turn spell, that's basically like take an extra turn and draw because you drew for that turn. I do think extra turn spells are really powerful. You do have like the risk of them getting countered though, but that you have the risk of every card getting countered, so that's not really relevant.
Yeah,
I think this card's really good. I like it. And the last card on this list is going to be Glorious Sunrise. So for 3 and 2 green, you get an enchantment that says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. Target land gains tap, add 3 mana until end of turn. Draw a card if you control a creature with power 3 or greater, or you gain 3 life. So this is going to happen the first turn you play this, which is nice, assuming you played it before combat, so that's cool. I do think you have to have like a creature wide kind of strategy in your deck for this to really be powerful, but it's a good card.
This reminds me, it's obviously different, but it reminds me of Elgar Gargaroth a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, just with the versatility. I mean, if you play it, because you're in green, right, so hopefully you're ramping. If you play it on turn 5 and you have 1 land left and you choose it taps for 3, that's a Llanowar Triad, that's a Llanowar Visionary, which taps for more mana. And then it just has good...
Yeah, man, this card does like everything you'd want a card to do. It can buff all your creatures and make them lethal threats. It can ramp you, can draw you, or gain 3 life, I guess. That's on there.
I mean, I think that this just fits in any Enchantress deck, Sithis, Harvester's Hand, which we saw in Modern Horizons 2.
Sithis, that'd be really powerful in there.
Just a powerful card.
Yeah, it's good. Especially if you're like in an elf deck, maybe have a bunch of elves. That'd be really good.
Yeah. Elf deck.
That's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.